we're going to shoot him. Is 1 o'clock okay? They said, it's fine. And everybody was emptied off the base, so they couldn't get hurt except for the gunners. They call them the gunners. And out of 14 high-end missiles that were shot at the base in Qatar, all 14, as you know, were shot down by our equipment. Amazing stuff. Amazing that they can do. It's like shooting a bullet with a bullet. It's the same thing if you think about it. 14 out of 14, and they weren't even that surprised. I said, do you do that well often? They say, we pretty much do, sir. The Ukraine crisis has also highlighted the urgency of rebuilding our defense industrial base, both in the United States and among the allied nations. We cannot afford to be dependent on foreign adversaries for critical minerals. And as you know, we made a deal with Ukraine to take a vast amount of the land they have for minerals. We need it. And once again, I want to thank all of the people in the Netherlands, incredible people. It's a great place. And all of the NATO allies for the tremendous summit that we just had. A letter just came in, and a statement came in from the Atomic Energy Commission of Israel. And I just wondered, this is an official letter, and they're very serious people, as you know. The devastating U.S. strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility totally inoperable. It was devastated. We assess that the American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities has set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons for many years to come. This achievement can continue indefinitely if Iran does not get access to nuclear material, which it won't. It's so sad that that whole thing had to go. But I just want to thank our pilots. You know, they were maligned and treated very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not, wasting time, wasting it. Nobody's watching them, so they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time. And the New York Times, they put out a story that, well, maybe they were hit, but it wasn't bad. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, you know, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, you know, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating. Also, they have, out of Dubai, just came that Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, this is Iran's foreign ministry, says it's near its nuclear installations were very badly damaged by the American strike. So what bothered me about these reports with fake reports put out by the New York Times, failing, I call it the failing New York Times because it's doing terribly. Without me, it would be doing no business at all. But, and by fake news, CNN and MSDNC, all of these terrible people, you know, they have no credibility. You know, when I started, they were at 94% credibility, the media. Now it's at 16%. And I'm very proud of it because I've exposed it for what it is. But when I saw them starting to question the caliber of the attack, was it bad? Well, it was really bad. It was devastating. They were obliterated. In fact, you can't get into the tunnels. They just put that over. That just came out. They can't. There's nothing. There's no way you can even get down. The whole thing is collapsed in a disaster. And I think all of the nuclear stuff is down there because it's very hard to remove. And we did it very quickly. When they heard we were coming, it was, you know, you can't move it. Very hard, very dangerous, actually, to move to. And they also knew we were coming, so I don't think too many people want to be down there knowing we're coming with the bunker busters, as we call them. We're the only ones that have them. We have the best equipment, best nuclear equipment, and we have the best equipment in the world. And by the way, we can't forget our submarine, which was out there, submarines actually, but submarine was out there. We shot 30 rockets into an area, every single one of them. I think it was almost 400 miles away, I think, Pete, right? 400? And long. It was in the ocean, long ways away. And we shot a total of 30. Every single one of them hit within 9 inches from where it was supposed to be. It took out a lot. Because we didn't do just Fordo, we did 2 others in addition, which hadn't been completely destroyed. So we hit them with a submarine from hundreds of miles away. Amazing, just amazing equipment. Greatest submarines in the world. Nobody's even close. They're 20 years behind us when it comes to submarine technology. So that's one, and the other was from the Atomic Energy Commission. And they have about 3 or 4 of them now coming in from atomic energy commissions from various places. But the one that we have that just came out, we released it a little while ago, was from the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission. But numerous of them are getting to see the site, and the site has been demolished. And again, we had these brave patriots, these incredible flyers, these people that can fly a plane better than anybody can fly a plane, going into very hostile territory, flying into the territory that has got more missiles and things pointed at it, but it was very stealth. They didn't get to see it. It was dark. That's the amazing thing about the shots. They hit the shots perfectly, and yet it was dead dark. There was no moon. There was no light. It was virtually moonless. It was very dark, and the shots were hit perfectly. But when they get demeaned, and they were very upset about it because they knew how strong it would be. Back in Missouri, the pilots flew about 36 hours, 2 ways, far distance, and in those incredible B-2s. And we then had the F-22s, and we had the F-35s, and we had other planes, and we had, I think, a total of 52 tankers. That means the big tankers, because the refueling was a lot for all of the different planes that we sent. Incredible operation, and I have to say, General Raisin Cain was incredible. That's why he beat ISIS, and we beat ISIS in a matter of weeks. I was told it would take 4 to 5 years. We did it in a few weeks, and he was great. That's why he's the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff right now, because I had a very good experience with him. He knocked out ISIS in a period of literally a few weeks. Amazing. And it was supposed to take a few years, 5 years to be exact. So we had a great victory there, and we then came here, and I think we had a great victory here. But this is an ongoing project. This is the safety of Europe, the safety of the world. And they've raised it from 2% to 5%, something which nobody, and you're talking about over $1 trillion a year. So we're talking about a lot of money coming in from countries that were not paying nearly enough to be effective. So I have, as you know, Marco Rubio with me, and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State and Secretary of War. Should we say Secretary? You know, it used to be called Secretary of War. Maybe for a couple of weeks we'll call it that, because we feel like warriors. It used to be called Secretary of War. In fact, if you look at the old building next to the White House, you can see where it used to be Secretary of War. Then we became politically correct, and they called it Secretary of Defense. I don't know, maybe we'll have to start thinking about changing it, but we feel that way. Do we have any questions, please? Wow. That's a lot of questions. Who's a nice person? Oh, you're not a nice person, but I'll let you ask one. Go ahead. What's he going to ask? He is not nice at all. I know him well.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time before flying home. You just said you believe the conflict between Israel and Iran is over. What makes you so confident it is? And what do you do if it isn't?
Because I dealt with both, and they're both tired, exhausted. They fought very, very hard and very viciously, very violently, and they were both satisfied to go home and get out. And can it start again? I guess someday it can. It could maybe start soon. I think a big telltale sign was when, as you know, Iran somewhat, by not much, violated the ceasefire, and Israel had the planes going out that morning, and there were a lot of them, 52 of them. And I said, you got to get them back. And they brought them back. They didn't do anything. They brought them back. It was very good. I thought it was amazing, actually. They have fought a hell of a war. They fought very hard. I think the war ended, actually, when we hit the various nuclear sites with the planes. And I just hope you people can give these pilots, these are the best pilots in the world. They're the best shots in the world. They call them shots. That's what they are. And wait a minute. And I just hope you can give them the respect they deserve, because they came home to fake news. And like, oh, gee, there was hardly any damage. The things are decimated. So, but I think, no, I think they're very much finished. I think Israel's going to get back to doing what they do, and I think that Iran's going to get back. You know, Iran has a huge advantage. They have great oil, and they can do things. I don't see them getting back involved in the nuclear business anymore. I think they've had it. They've been at it for 20 years, and I don't see that happening either. Now, if it does, we're always there. It won't be me. It'll be somebody else, but we're there. We'll have to do something about it. Yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah, here we go. Wait till you hear this question. You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S. intelligence was inconclusive. Are you relying on Israeli intelligence for your assessment of the impact of the strikes?
No, this is also Iran made the statement. And it's also, if you read the document that was given, that Pete can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage, but they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know, other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe. And you didn't choose to put that because it was very early after. Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out. Okay, question? Please, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, blue dress.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yesterday, you said China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran.
Yeah.
Are you giving up on your maximum pressure campaign? Because there are sanctions right now.
With who?
On Iran.
No, look, they just had a war. The war was fought. They fought it bravely. I'm not giving up. They're in the oil business. I mean, I could stop it if I wanted. I could sell China the oil myself. I don't want to do that. They're going to need money to put that country back into shape. We want to see that happen. Would it? No. If they're going to sell oil, they're going to sell oil. We're not taking over the oil. We could have, you know. I used to say with Iraq, keep the oil. I could say it here, too. We could have kept the oil. No, China is going to want to buy oil. They can buy it from us. They can buy it from other people. But you're going to have to put that country back into shape. It desperately needs money. Yeah. Yeah, please. Here we go. I'm picking the beauties today. Go ahead.
Mr. President, Secretary General Rutte has described President Putin as an adversary, a threat, an enemy. Do you view him the same way? And in addition to that, you mentioned General Kane, your chief of staff, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
General Kane.
Yes, he has said that Mr. Putin has territorial ambitions beyond Ukraine. Do you view that in the same way?
Possible. I mean, it's possible. I know one thing, he'd like to settle. He'd like to get out of this thing. It's a mess for him. He called the other day. He said, can I help you with Iran? I said, no, you can help me with Russia. Because, you know, in the last few weeks, we took care of India and Pakistan, Kosovo, Serbia. I think on Friday we have coming in, the Congo is coming in, and Rwanda is coming in. That was a vicious war that went on, a machete war, heads chopped off all over Africa. They're coming in. We did two others in addition to that. Nobody's ever done anything like this. No, I consider him a person that's, I think, been misguided. I'm very surprised, actually. I thought we would have had that settled easy. I've settled 4 of them in the meantime. But he did call up, and he said, you know, he's close to Iran. He'd like to help us get a settlement. I said, no, you help me get a settlement with you, with Russia. And I think we're going to be doing that, too. Yeah, please. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've made clear your position on what impact the strikes had. I wanted to ask you what is next with Iran. For instance, is there any indication from U.S. intelligence that Iran was able to move any material?
No, just the opposite. We think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move. And if you knew about that material, it's very hard and very dangerous to move. It's called, in many people they call it dust, but it's very, very heavy. It's very, very hard to move. And they were way down, you know, they're 30 stories down They're literally 30, 35 stories down underground. Oh yeah, we think we think it's covered with granite, concrete, and steel.
Can I ask you, are you interested in restarting negotiations with Iran? And if so, have they reciprocated?
So
Or is
our
this sort of
people,
settled?
Marco could answer this, but our people are not, I'm not. The way I look at it, they fought, the war's done, and, you know, I could get a statement that they're not going to go nuclear. We're probably going to ask for that, but they're not going to be doing it. But they're not going to be doing it anyway. They've had it. They've had it. Now, maybe someday in the future we'll want that. But I've asked Marco, do you want to draw, I just asked him the question as we were walking on the stage, do you want to draw up a little agreement for them to sign? Because I think we can get them to sign it. I don't think it's necessary. Marco, do you want to talk about that, please?
Well, Mr. President, I think President Trump has shown a willingness to meet and talk to anybody in the world who's interested in peace. I don't know of any president that's been as willing as he has to meet with anyone and talk about peace. We'd love to have peaceful relations with any country in the world. And so obviously that'll depend on Iran's willingness not just to engage in peace, but to negotiate directly with the United States, not through some third country or fourth country process. But I know of no president, probably in our modern history, that's sought peace more than President Trump has.
Sounds like the door is open, but you're in no rush. Is that right? Sounds like the door is open, but
I'll tell you what, look, we're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement, I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought, now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. The only thing we'd be asking for is what we were asking for before about we want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come, and so I don't feel very strongly about it. If we got a document, wouldn't be bad. We're going to meet with them, actually. We're going to meet with them. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. President, Netherlands TV, thank you for visiting our country.
Good.
As I understood, I, of course, would like to know how you slept last night at the House of the King.
Oh, I slept beautifully.
But probably a more serious question. I think you just had a meeting with President Zelensky. Did you discuss any ceasefire in this Russo-Ukrainian?
No, I wanted to know how he's doing. He was very nice, actually. You know, we had little rough times sometimes. He was couldn't have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do. I think what I took from the meeting couldn't have been nicer, actually. But I took from the meeting that he'd like to see it end. I think it's a great time to end it. I'm going to speak to Vladimir Putin and see if we can get it ended. But look, these are brave people. They're fighting these wars all over the place. You know, last week they had, I guess, I told you, close to 7,000 young soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 7,000 in 1 week. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'll be speaking to Putin. No, I had a good meeting with Zelensky. And I had a lot of good meetings. We had a lot of good meetings with a lot of people, a lot of great leaders. But he's fighting a brave battle. It's a tough battle. Yeah. Go ahead, white dress.
Thank you. Ida Hallikainen from Finland, Ilta-Sanomat.
Good.
You have played golf with President Alexander Stubb. How do you see Finland as a NATO ally and partner, and how would you describe your relationship with our president?
Well, he's a very good golfer, okay? In fact, he was on his college golf team. He went to a good college in the South, as you know, a very good college, and he was a good golfer. We had a good time. I think my relationship's great. I want to buy icebreakers. You know, you're very good at icebreakers. And I actually made him an offer. I didn't go to Congress. They'll try and impeach me for this. But there's an old, it's not old, it's fairly new, but it's used icebreaker. And I offered him about 1/3 of what he asked for. But we're negotiating. We need icebreakers in the U.S. And if we can get some inexpensively, I'd like to do that. Actually, they'll fix it up, make it good. Also, we may buy some icebreakers. You know, you're the king of icebreakers, that particular country. They make them good. They make them really good, and they know what they're doing. And so we're negotiating with them for about 15 different icebreakers, but one of them is available now. It's old, and it's, old. It's like 5, 6 years old. Now we're trying to buy it. I'm trying to make a good deal. It's all I do. My whole life, that's all I do is make deals. Yeah, please. Go ahead. Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, a question for NewsHour, Dutch TV. First of all, on Article 5, on your way here, you spoke about the commitment of the U.S. to Article 5, saying, I'll give you my definition once we're here. Yeah. What is your definition, and may the U.S. commitment to Article 5 change in case some of the NATO members do not reach the threshold that was discussed today? My second question is following up on a colleague on Iran. What intel reports do say that everything over there was obliterated?
Yeah, well, there are numerous of those reports, and they're coming out fast and furious. But the most respected ones we've already seen. And I will say that on a very confidential basis, they're looking at the reports, like numerous reports, and including people going to the site and checking the site. And they're going to be having, I guess you're going to be having over the next couple of days a full, you're going to encapsulate it. But no, the site was obliterated, just like I said it was. And just like the pilots should be given credit for. As far as Article 5, look, when I came here because it was something I'm supposed to be doing, but I left here a little bit differently. I said, I watched the heads of these countries get up, and the love and the passion that they showed for their country was unbelievable. I've never seen quite anything like it. They want to protect their country, and they need the United States. And without the United States, it's not going to be the same. And you can ask Mark, or you can ask any of the people that were there. It was really moving to see it. They love their country. They were so respectful of me because I'm the head of the United States. And I made, you know, the King of Saudi Arabia, when I was in the Middle East, so I was in Qatar for a different reason, not a reason to get shot at. We were in there for economic development reasons, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. All three leaders of those countries, and we took back $5.1 trillion into the United States. All three leaders said, you know, you're presiding over the hottest country in the world. The United States right now is the hottest, everybody wants to be there, everybody wants a piece of it. He said, a year ago, your country was dead. You had a deadhead running it. You had a country that was dead, and it was dead. You had people pouring through the borders. You had inflation. You had everything. He said, you've made it in 5 months at that time. You've made it the hottest country. This is the hottest country in the world. The United States right now is the hottest country in the world. And when I was around that table, it was a nice group of people, many of whom I knew from previous. When I saw the passion they had for the country, and almost everyone, and you probably have the tapes. Well, thank you very much. Public, this has been but an honor. Almost every one of them said, "Thank God for the United States. Without the United States, we couldn't. They couldn't really have NATO. It wouldn't work.
As you probably noticed,
it wouldn't work. It will in the future because now they're paying much more money. But
from the heads of a lot of
it
wonderful countries.
It was great. And I left here differently. I left here saying that these people really love their countries. It's not a rip-off,
summit in the
and we're here to
Netherlands.
help them protect their country.
For the royal treatment they've
Okay, we'll do one or two more.
Couldn't have been nicer. And,
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's a beautiful
a question
country.
on Spain.
Really
Are you
beautiful
satisfied
country.
with today?
I think Spain's
Beautiful
terrible
trees.
what
In
they've
fact, I
done.
want to bring some back
No, I
with me.
do. They're the only country that won't pay the
I
full
want to
up.
also thank.
They want to
I
stay
had,
at 2%. I think
had
it's
breakfast
terrible. And
this
you know, they're
morning
doing
with
very
the
well.
King
The
and Queen
economy
and
is
their
very
incredible
well.
people.
And that economy could be
Cold.
blown
They
right
say
out of the
Central
water with
Casting.
something bad
Beautiful
happening. You know,
people.
Spain is the only
Great
country
people.
that. Are you from Spain?
Big, beautiful heart.
Good, congratulations.
And,
You're the
I
only
enjoyed that.
country
And
that is
also,
not paying. I don't know what the problem
NATO
is. I think
Secretary
it's too
General
bad.
Mark Rutte,
So we'll make it up. You know what we're
who's
going
been
to do? We're
terrific. He's been a friend
negotiating
of
with
mine.
Spain on a
He's
trade deal.
right
We're going to
here
make them
running
pay
this
twice as much. And I'm actually
wonderful
serious
country.
about
Now
that.
he's
We're
the
going to make
NATO
Spain.
Secretary General.
I like Spain. I have
Fantastic
so
job.
many people from Spain.
And the Prime
that-
Minister. We
It's a
appreciate
great
everything
place,
you've
and they're
done.
great people.
As you know, last
But
weekend, the
Spain
United States
is
successfully carried out
the
a
only
massive
country out of all of the countries
precision strike on
refuses
Iran's
to
nuclear
pay.
enrichment facilities, and it was
so they want a little bit of a free ride.
successful.
But they'll
It was
have to
called
pay it back to us
obliteration.
on trade because I'm not going to
No
let that
other
happen. It's
military on
unfair.
earth could have
It's
done it,
unfair to
and now
NATO. All right,
this
sir, please.
incredible
Go ahead,
exercise of
right in the
American
back. Yeah,
strength has
you
paved
tall
the
one.
way for
The
peace
tall man.
with a historic ceasefire agreement.
late
Mr.
Monday.
President,
and,
Johannes
we
Pertwa
called
from
the
Austrian
12-day
National
war.
Television.
How are
You
you?
once
To a few people,
said
I guess
that
just
you would
sounded
end
like
the
right-
Ukraine war in
right
24
name
hours.
was
You
a
later said
12-day
you said
war.
that sarcastically.
Of course it was sarcastic.
But you've now been in office for 5 months and 5 days. Why have you not been able to end the Ukraine war?
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. 15 years. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars. I mean, look, we just ended a war in 12 days that was simmering for 30 years, frankly. We ended Rwanda and the Congo. They're coming to sign the documents. We've already signed basic documents, but they're coming, I think, to the White House on Friday. We ended Serbia was going to go at it. But maybe the most important of all, India and Pakistan. And that wasn't whether or not they may someday have nukes, like we're talking about in the Middle East, like we're talking about with Israel and Iran. This is they have nuclear weapons. I ended that with a series of phone calls on trade. Other NATO members to take up. If you're going to go fighting each other, it was getting very bad. You know how bad that last attack was. It was really bad. If you're going to go fighting each other, we're not doing any trade deal. No, you have to do a trade deal. I said, we're not doing any trade deal. And in fact, I had the general, really was very impressive. The general from Pakistan was in my office last week. You know, Prime Minister Modi is a great friend of mine. He's a great gentleman. He's a great man. And I got them to reason. I said, we're not doing a trade deal if you're going to fight. And if you're going to fight each other, we're not doing a trade deal. And you know what? He said, no, I want to do the trade deal. We stopped the nuclear war. Go ahead. Our allies have increased spending by $700 billion. Here's another beauty, Jeff. I said to people, you don't have any money. And a lot of them weren't paying. All right. So I started the process.
Mr. President, to follow up on Ukraine, will the United States contribute any more money to Ukraine's defense this year to the $5 billion that allies are giving? And one question, you had another meeting with the Dutch opposition leader, Mr. Wilders. Can you tell us about that meeting? And are you upset about his anti-Muslim stance?
And I'm not upset about it. It's his view. He's unhappy with the way things are going in this country and various countries. He was an opposition leader, and I was asked to meet with the opposition leaders by the people that are running. I think they have some deal where if you have a meeting, you're supposed to meet with an opposition leader. I said, that's strange. We don't do that. But no one really thought I didn't know him. And they said, you did it, sir. He seemed like a very nice guy, but he's in opposition to the current people, and that was set up by the current people. This will be known as the Hague. I assume when I met with the Prime Minister, you're supposed to meet with the opposition. We'll have to try that sometime in our country. When the Allies reach this number, let's not do it. It will add more than $1 trillion a year. I thought it was very good as far as money going to our common defense, and we'll see what happens. There's a lot of spirit. Look, to Vladimir Putin really has monumental win for people are dying at levels that people haven't seen before for a long time. Go ahead. It's quite unfair. Go ahead. But this is a big win for Europe and for actually Western civilization. For years, past administrations failed to get most allies to contribute.
I'm from Ukraine.
Even the 2%.
So my question
to you is whether
or not the U.S. is ready to sell anti-air missile systems, Patriot, to Ukraine. We know that Russia has been pounding Ukraine really heavily right now.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there, and
I can see Europe stepping up to take more responsibility for its security will help prevent future disasters like the horrible situation with Russia and Ukraine. He's there now. Hopefully we're going to get that solved. That's rough stuff. Last week they lost 7,000 soldiers. And you're living here? Mostly soldiers.
In Moscow.
But they're also getting hit in Kiev. Good. They're getting hit in some of the towns. They do want to have the anti-missile missiles. Okay? And that means life is disappearing also in the cities and towns. We're going to see if we can make some of it. Never happened if I was president. They're very hard to get. We need them too. We were supplying them to Israel.
And
it
never did happen.
And they're very effective. 100% effective. But it's vital that this additional money be spent on. They do want that more than any other thing, as you probably know. That's a very good question. Not bureaucracy. And I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's that hardware is going to be made in America because we're the best hardware in the world. You saw say hello to your husband. 14 missiles were shot at us the other day. Go ahead. And they were very nice. They gave us warning. Thank you. They said we're going to shoot them.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Is 1 o'clock okay?
You were criticizing.
Where are you from?
Bloomberg News.
And everybody was emptied off the base.
You were criticizing the Federal Reserve Chair before coming to this summit.
Yeah, I think he's terrible.
I was wondering if you've begun interviewing different candidates for the Fed.
Yeah, I know all 14, as you know, within 3 or 4 people who are all going to pick. I mean, he goes out pretty soon, fortunately, because I think he's terrible.
It's like shooting a bullet with a bullet.
We have no inflation. We have a tremendous economy. Hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money is pouring in. Factories are being built because they don't want to pay the tariffs, so they're building them all over the country. I think we're close to $15 trillion. I told you $5.1 trillion from the Middle East alone, of investment money coming in. There's never been anything like that in the history of our country.
Among the allied nations,
but we have no inflation.
We cannot afford to be
we
dependent
have borrowing
on
because
foreign
Biden stupidly
adversaries
they
for
did short-term
critical
debt.
minerals, and as
So
you
we
know,
have
we made a
borrowing
deal with
coming up.
Ukraine to take
And, you know, we'll go 10 years, maybe longer,
land they
maybe
have
shorter,
for
but we'll go a long period of
minerals
time
needed.
when we do the debt.
And once again, I
because
want
of
to
him,
thank all of the people
because
in
of
the
this
Netherlands,
guy,
incredible people. It's a great place.
we will have to pay
And
for
all of
years.
the
We'll be
NATO
paying for
allies
him.
for the tremendous
And I said to
summit
him, listen,
that we just had.
there's no inflation.
A letter
He says,
just
but
came
maybe
in
there'll
and,
be some. That's true. I said,
statement
if
came
there
in
is
from
some, what you do is raise the rate.
Atomic
I'm okay with that.
Energy
you raise the
Commission
rate in 2
of
years
Israel.
from now or in a year from now.
And I just wanted
But
to
because the rate's
official
high, we have to pay more for debt.
letter, and they're very serious
It's pretty
people,
equal.
as you know.
In other words, if it's 4%, it's
devastating US
4%. If
strike
you drop it a
on
point,
Fordo
you'll pay 3%.
destroyed the
so it's fairly
site's
equal,
critical
not necessarily,
infrastructure
but
and
fairly
rendered
equal.
the enrichment
So we're going to end up
facility
paying maybe
totally
2 points or 3 points
inoperable. It
more.
was devastating.
3 points would be
We
about
assess that the American strikes
$900
on
billion
Iran's
a year.
nuclear
Because of
facilities has
this
set back Iran's ability
very
to
average
develop
mentally
nuclear
person.
weapons
He's
for
an
many years to
average
come.
mentally person. I'd say
This
low
achievement
in
can
terms of what he
continue
does.
indefinitely
Low.
if Iran does not
Low
get
IQ
access
for what
to
he does. Okay?
nuclear material.
Wait. So instead,
so
instead
sad
of paying
that whole thing had to go.
$900
But I just want to thank our
billion.
pilots. You know, they were
We don't pay
maligned and
$900
treated
just
very
because he
bad,
doesn't want to
demeaned
lower the
by
rate. I
fake
said,
news CNN,
if
which
there's
is back there,
inflation
believe
in
it
2
or not,
years or
wasting
3 years
time,
or 1 year
wasting
from
it.
now,
Nobody's
you
watching
raise the
them,
rate
so
and you take
they're
care of the
just wasting a lot of
inflation,
time,
among other
wasting my
things.
time. And the New
But
York Times,
he's
they put out a story
probably
that,
a very
well,
political
maybe
guy.
they were
I
hit,
don't know.
but it wasn't
I think he's a very
bad.
stupid
Well, it was
person.
so bad
actually.
that
All right, one more.
at the
Let's
end
go.
of the
How
war,
about you?
ended the war.
Go ahead.
Somebody said in a
She looks
certain
so
way,
happy and everything.
Thank
it
you.
was so
I'm from
devastating,
Spain too.
actually.
I'm Anna Book from
If
La
you look
Vanguardia.
at
I wanted
Hiroshima,
to know
if you look
from?
at Nagasaki,
Spain,
you know, that ended
I
a war
wanted to
too.
know if
This
you want
ended a
to-
war
That's
in
the
a
Spain
different
corner
way,
right there.
but it was so
Shouldn't have said that.
devastating.
That's okay.
Also,
I do
they
like
have,
Spain, by the way. I think
out
it's
of
unfair
Dubai,
that they're not paying, but go ahead.
Are you going
just
to
came
negotiate
that
directly with
Iran's
Spain
foreign
about-
ministry
So I'm going to
spokesman-
negotiate
this is Iran's
directly with
foreign
Spain. I'm going to do it myself.
Says it's near.
They're going to pay. They'll pay
Its
more money
nuclear
this way.
Installations were
You
very
should tell
badly
them to go
damaged
back and
by
pay. You're a reporter?
the American
You
strike.
tell them to
So
go back. They ought to
what
join
bothered me
all of
about
those
these
countries that are
reports
paying
were Fake
5%.
reports put out by the New York Times.
Spain's going to be just about
failing,
the
I
only
call
one
it the
that's
failing
not.
New York Times because it's
They were the
doing
most
terrible.
hostile
Without me, it
toward
would be
toward
doing no
It
business
just
at all.
doesn't make sense to me.
But,
Okay.
and by
All right,
fake
Kelly, go
news,
ahead.
CNN and MSDNC. All
Here
of
we
these
go.
terrible people. You know,
There's
they have no
another one.
credibility.
Thank you
We
very
got
You know,
them
when
all
I started,
today.
there were 94%
So, Mr. President, you talked about expecting some on-the-ground
And I'm very proud of
assessments
it
at
because
Fordo
I've
and other
exposed it
sites.
for what it
Now,
is.
Is that
here again,
Israeli
when I,
and U.S.?
When I saw
It's been
them starting to
obliterated,
question
Kelly.
the-
It's been
What is your
caliber
message then,
of the
sir, to
attack.
the intelligence
Was it
community when they present
bad?
reports? You're
It
not
was really
disputing
bad.
the
It was
DIA
devastating. They
report. You're just
obliterated.
They
But
presented
they can't
a
get into
report
the
that
tunnels.
wasn't
They
finished.
just
We're
put
talking
that
about
over.
something
They
that
just
took
came
place
out. They can't-
3
there's
days
nothing-
ago.
There's no
I
way you
understand
can
it's
even
already
get
been
down.
done.
The
was
whole
done
thing is
So
collapsed.
what-
days ago. Wait a minute.
Yes.
And I
They
think
didn't
all
see
of
it.
the nuclear
All
stuff
they
is
can
down
do
there
is
because
take
it's
a
very
guess.
hard to remove.
Now, if you take a look at the
And
pictures, if
we
you
did
take
it
a
very
look how it's
quickly.
all blackened,
When they
you know
heard
the
we were
fire
coming,
and
it was,
brimstone
you know,
is
you
all
can't move it.
underground.
Very hard,
because
very
it's
dangerous,
granite and it's
actually, to
all
move
underground.
to.
You don't show it.
And they also knew
But
we were
even
coming,
there,
so I don't
with
think too
all
many
of that
people want to
being
be
said,
down there
the
knowing we're
whole
coming.
area for
With the
75
bunker
yards
busters, as we
around,
call them, we're the
the
only ones
whole
that
where
have
it hit
the
is
best
black
equipment,
with
best
fire.
nuclear equipment, and we have the best equipment
group
in the world.
that's
And by the way,
run by this
we
gentleman. In
can't
fact, you may want to talk about it for a second because we're going to issue a report.
Which was out there, submarines actually.
And I think it's not even a very exciting report at this point.
30
It's been obliterated, totally obliterated. And
an area,
they did a
every single
report,
one
but
of them. I think
it was like
almost.
If you look at the
400
dates,
miles
it's
away,
just a
I think,
few days
Pete.
after it
Understood,
happened.
sir.
So they didn't see it.
And
They
long.
said it
was
may
in the
be
ocean.
very severe.
Long ways
Understood.
away.
Do you have a message for the
And,
intelligence
we
community,
shot-
though, in terms of
we shot,
unvarnished
a
information
total
getting to you?
of
That it's
30.
not.
I don't really
Every
have a
single
message.
one of them hit
I would
within
say
9 inches from
issue
where
the
it was
report when
supposed
you
to
know
be.
what
It took
happened.
it a lot.
I wouldn't
'Cause we
say
didn't
that
do
it
just
could be
Florida, we
severe
did,
or maybe not. They use the word severe.
2 others in addition,
It could be severe or
which
maybe
hadn't
it's
been
not.
completely
So people people like you
destroyed,
picked up and said,
so we hit them.
It's not
with a
severe.
submarine from
the report was not
hundreds of
a
miles
complete
away.
report.
Amazing. Just
Yeah, the
amazing
message was probably wait till you know the
Greatest
answer before
submarines
you
in the
And
world.
sir, did
Nobody's
you not
even close
have
to
a
20
public
years behind
component
us
to
when
your
it comes to
Zelensky
submarine
meeting
technology.
for a tactical reason with
So
President
that's
Putin?
one, and the other was
Hello, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah.
was from
There's a reason the
Atomic
president
Energy
calls out
Commission.
fake news for what it is.
And they have about 3 or 4 of them
These
now
pilots,
coming in from Atomic
these
Energy
refuelers,
Commissions from
these
various
fighters,
places. But the one
these air defenders,
that we have
the
that,
skill and the
just
courage it took to go into
came
enemy
out,
territory,
we
flying
released it a little
36
while
hours
ago,
on
was
behalf of
from
the American people
the
and the
Israeli
world to
Atomic
take out a
Energy
nuclear
Commission,
program
but numerous of
is
them
beyond
are
what
getting to
anyone in
see
this
the site.
audience can fathom.
And the site has been
And then
demolished.
the instinct,
and again,
the instinct of
we had these
CNN, the
brave,
instinct of the New York
patriots,
Times is
these
to try to
incredible
find a
flyers,
way
these,
to
people
spin
that-
it for their
can
own
fly a
political
plane
reasons,
better
to
than
try to
anybody
hurt
can fly a plane
President
going
Trump
into very hostile
or our country.
territory,
They don't care what
flying
the troops
into,
think. They don't care what the world thinks.
the territory
They want to
that
spin
has
it
got
to try to
more
make him
missiles
look
and
bad
things
based on
pointed
a
at it.
leak. Of course, we've all
But it
seen
was
plenty
very
of
stealth. They
leakers.
didn't
And what do
get to see
leakers
it.
do?
It
They have
was dark.
agendas. And what
That's
do?
the
They
amazing
share
thing
the
about
whole
the shots. They hit the
information
shots perfectly,
or
and
just
yet
the
it was
part that they
dead
want
dark.
to
There was
introduce.
no moon, there
And
was
when they
no
introduce
light.
that preliminary,
virtually,
a preliminary
moonless.
report
It
that's
was very
deemed
dark,
to
and they hit-
be
the
low,
shots were hit
a
perfectly,
low
but when
assessment.
they
You
get
know what
to
a low
mean,
assessment
they were
means?
very upset
Low
about it
confidence
because they knew how
in the data
strong
in
they
that
would
report.
be.
And why
Back
is there
in
low
Missouri,
confidence? Because all of
pilots
the
flew about
evidence
36
of what was
hours,
just
2
bombed
ways,
by
far
12
distance,
30,000-pound
and those
bombs
incredible
is
B-2s,
buried under a
and
mountain,
we then had the
devastated
F-22s,
and
and we had the
obliterated.
F-35s,
So if you
and
want to
we had
make an
other planes,
assessment
and we had,
of what
I
happened
think,
at
a total of
Fordo,
52
you better get a
tankers.
big shovel
That means the big
and go really deep,
the big tankers,
because Iran's
because the
nuclear
refueling was
program
a lot for
is
all of the different
obliterated.
planes that
And
we sent.
somebody
Incredible
somewhere is trying to leak
operation,
something
and I
to
have to
say,
say,
with low
General
confidence, we
Raisin
think
Kane
maybe
was incredible.
it's
That's why
moderate.
he
Those
beat
that
ISIS,
drop the
and we
bombs
beat ISIS in a matter of
precisely in the
weeks.
right place
I was told it
know
would take 4 to
exactly
5 years. We
what
did it in a
happened
few
when that
weeks.
exploded. And you know who
And he
else
was
knows?
great. That's
Iran.
why he's ahead
That's why they came to the
of the
table
Joint
right
Chiefs
away,
of
because
Staff
their
right now,
nuclear
because
capabilities
had a very good
have been
experience
set
with them. They knocked
back
out ISIS in a
beyond
period
what they
of
thought were possible
literally a few
because
weeks.
of the courage of a
Amazing.
commander-in-chief who
That
led
was
our
supposed
troops,
to take a
despite
few
what the fake
years.
news wants to say.
5 years to
You're
be
not
exact.
disputing the report said what
So
it said, even though
we
it
had a
was
great
initial.
victory there,
report
and
said
we then came
what it
here,
said, and it was fine.
I think we
It
had a
was
great
severe.
victory here, but
They
this
think,
is
but they had no
an
idea.
ongoing project.
They shouldn't have
This
issued
is
a
the
report
safety of
until
Europe,
they
the
did.
safety of the
But we've
world.
gotten the information. I think
And
Pete
they've
said it
raised it
better
from
than he could
2%
say
to
it.
5%,
And you know,
something which nobody. And you're
you
talking
should be
about
proud. You,
over $1
especially
trillion
you,
a year.
should
So
be
we're
proud
talking about a
of
lot
those
of money
pilots,
from
and you shouldn't
coming
be
in
trying
from
to demean them.
countries that were
not
not
paying
paying
nearly
nearly
enough
enough
to be effective.
at great risk.
So,
big chance
I
that
have,
they've
as
never
you know,
come back
Marco
home and see their
Rubio
husbands or
is
their
the
wives.
excellent
Let me just tell you, you and
of
NBC
State and
fake news,
Secretary
which is
of
one of the
War.
worst,
Should we say
and
Secretary? It used to
CNN,
be called Secretary
New
of
York
War. Maybe
Times
for a
are
couple
all
of weeks
bad.
we'll
They're
call
sick.
it that.
There's something wrong with them.
Because we feel
You
like
know what?
warriors.
You should be
Used to be
praising
called
those
Secretary
people
of
instead
War.
of trying to find
In fact, if you
some-
look at the
by
old
getting
building
me, by trying to go
next
and
to
get
the White
me,
House, you can
you're
see where
hurting
it used to be
those people. They were
Secretary of War. Then
devastated.
we
You
became
know,
politically
I got a call
correct,
from Missouri.
and they called it
Great state.
Secretary of Defense.
And I won 3 times by a lot.
thinking about changing
And I got a
it.
call that the
But we
pilots
feel that
and
way.
the people on the plane were devastated.
do we have any
because
questions,
They were
please?
trying to minimize
Wow.
the attack. And they all
That's
said
a
it
lot
was
of
hit.
questions.
Oh, but we don't think it was really maybe hit that badly.
Who's a nice person?
And
Oh,
they
you're
were
not a nice
devastated.
person,
They
but I'll
put
let
their
you ask
lives
one.
on
Go
the
ahead.
line, and then
What's
they
he going to
have-
ask?
And
He
I'm
is
not
not nice
referring
at
to you,
all.
but real scum.
I
real
know him
scum
well.
Come out and write reports.
Thank you,
that
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Thank you
are
for
as
taking the
negative
time
as they
before
could
flying home.
possibly be. It should be the
you
opposite.
just said you believe
should make them
the conflict between
heroes
Israel and
and
Iran
heroines. You should make
is
them
over. What makes you so
really
confident it
people
is?
that they
And
were
what do you
so
you if it isn't.
devastated when they
Because
heard
I
this
dealt with
news.
both.
And you know what they said?
And
One
they're
of them, I
both
spoke to one
tired,
of them,
exhausted.
said,
They
"Sir,
fought
we hit
very,
the
very
site.
hard and very
It was
viciously, very
perfect.
violently.
It was dead on.
And they were both
Because they don't
satisfied to
understand
go
fake
home
news
and
because
get
they
out.
have a normal life,
And
except
can it
they
start
have to
again? I
fly
guess
very
someday
big, very
it can.
fast
It could
planes.
maybe start
but
soon.
it's a shame. You should be
I
making
think
them
a big
heroes. All right,
telltale
in the
sign
back.
is when,
Go ahead, back white.
as you know, Iran somewhat,
White
by
jacket,
not much,
yeah.
violated the
Go ahead,
ceasefire.
come on, Mike.
And Israel had the planes
hello.
going out that
Deborah
morning. There
Haynes
were a lot
from
of them,
Sky
52 of them.
News. Mark
And I
Rutte,
said, you got to
the
get them
NATO
back. And they
chief,
brought them
who
back. They
is
didn't
your
do
friend.
anything. They brought them back.
He
It was
called
very
you
good.
daddy
I thought it was
earlier.
amazing, actually.
Do you regard
They
your
have
NATO
fought a
allies
hell of a war.
as
They
kind
fought
of
very
children?
hard.
No, he likes me. I think
I
he
think
likes
the war
me.
ended actually.
If he
when
doesn't,
we
I'll
hit
let
the
you know. I'll come back
various
and I'll hit him
nuclear
hard,
sites with
okay?
planes.
No?
Do you
He did
regard-
it
And I
very
just hope you
affectionate. He,
people can
daddy,
give
you're my
these
daddy.
pilots, these are the best
Do you
pilots
regard
in
your
the
NATO
world. They're the
allies,
best shots
though,
in
as
the
kind
world.
of like
They call them
children,
shots.
and they're
That's what
obviously
they are.
listening to you, and they're
And
spending
wait a minute.
more,
And
and
I
you're
just hope
obviously
you can give them the
appreciative
respect
of
they
that.
deserve.
But do you hope that actually they're going to be able to defend themselves, defend Europe on their own?
I think they need help a little bit at the beginning. No, I think they'll be able very much. I think they're going to remember this day. And this is a big day for NATO. And I think that Iran's going to get back to Iran. One of the gentlemen said, "You know what? We've been trying to raise money and they can raise the rate. I don't see them for 30 years. He said 20 years from almost the beginning. They've had it. And he's been there for a long time. He said until you came along, it never happened. Now, if it does, amazing. It's been sort of an amazing. It won't be me. It'll be for a lot of reasons, but also for that. You do something about it.
Do it without you, though, in the future?
Please. Well, ask Mark. I mean, you have to ask Mark. Okay. So we're heading back. We're heading back. I want to thank these two gentlemen behind me. They're incredible people. Both of them. They're really, you should really say how great job. And
our soldiers
in the front, and she's done.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S.
We'll see you in Washington, D.C.
Are you relying on Israeli
we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Thank you very much, everybody.
This is also Iran made the statement, and it's also, if you read the document that was given, that Pete can talk about if you'd like.
ईरान के जौहरी मकामात पर हमले इंतहाई कामयाब थे। सदर डोनाल्ड ट्रंप खिताब कर रहे थे। अमरीकी जो आपने मुलाहिजा किया, उनका कहना था कि ईरान जौहरी हथियार हासिल नहीं कर सकता। कतर में अमरीकी एयरबेस को पहले ही खाली करवा लिया गया था, जबकि कतर में अमरीकी बेस पर फायर किए गए 14 ईरानी मिसाइल्स तबाह किए गए। नाटो के दीगर ममालिक को भी दिफा के बोझ को उठाना होगा। ईरान की जौहरी तनसीबात पर तबाहकुन हमले के बाद जंगबंदी हुई और उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे नहीं लगता कि ईरान और इसराइल के दरमियान फिर से जंग शुरू होगी। अमरीकी फ़ौज का शुमार दुनिया की बेहतरीन अफवाज में होता है और जल्द ही रूस और यूक्रेन का तनाज़ा भी हल कर लेंगे। उनकी गुफ्तगू आपने मुलाहिजा की। उन्होंने कहा अमरीकी सदर डोनाल्ड ट्रंप की जानिब से एक बार फिर फील्ड मार्शल आसिम मुनीर की तारीफ की गई। उन्होंने कहा कि फील्ड मार्शल आसिम मुनीर एक मुतासिरकुन शख्सियत हैं। पाकिस्तानी आर्मी चीफ बहुत अच्छे आदमी हैं। उनकी फील्ड मार्शल आसिम मुनीर से मुलाकात हुई और उन्होंने कहा कि ईरान इसराइल का जो तनाज़ा है वो जल्द दोबारा हल हो जाएगा और उन्होंने कहा कि हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि ईरान से अगले हफ्ते तक बात कर ली जाए। जल्द ही ईरान से इस मामले पर बातचीत होगी और उन्होंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान भारत के पास जौहरी हथियार हैं, जौहरी तनाज़ा हो सकता था, मामले को हल करवाया। उन्होंने कहा कि बहुत जल्द कोशिश की जाएगी कि ख़ित्ते में अमन रहे और पाकिस्तान और भारत के कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के बारे में उन्होंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान और भारत से कहा था कि आपस में ट्रेड करें और उन्होंने कहा कि अगले हफ्ते ईरान से दोबारा बातचीत होगी। दुनिया में जो भी बातचीत का ख्वाहा हैं, अमरीका उससे बातचीत करने के लिए तैयार हैं। अमरीकी सदर डोनाल्ड ट्रंप की गुफ्तगू आपने मुलाहिजा की। वज़ीर ख़ारजा मार्को रूबियो का कहना था कि अमरीका ईरान के साथ बराह रास्त बातचीत के लिए भी तैयार है। डोनाल्ड ट्रंप गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा कि यूक्रेन और रूस की जंग बंद करवाना बहुत मुश्किल काम है, लेकिन जल्द ही इस पर भी काम हो जाएगा। रूसी और यूक्रेनी सदूर बहुत मुश्किल अशख़ास हैं। उन्होंने कहा कि ईरान इसराइल का तनाज़ा जल्द दोबारा भी शुरू हो सकता है। यूक्रेन जंग के खात्मे के लिए रूसी हम मनसब से भी बातचीत करूंगा। इफ्तिखार शराजी साहब ब्यूरो चीफ इस्लामाबाद हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। हैग में मौजूद थे अमरीकी सदर डोनाल्ड ट्रंप और उनकी गुफ्तगू आपने मुलाहिजा की। इफ्तिखार शराजी साहब, उन्होंने बहुत अहम निकात पर मामला उठाया है और उन्होंने कहा है कि हम कोशिश करूंगा कि खित्ते में अमन बरकरार रहे। ओवरऑल उनके खिताब को आप कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, मैं तो समझता हूँ कि अमरीकी गोया के पॉलिसीज के अंदर और एक्शंस के अंदर इतना गोया के ड्रामाई गोया के तब्दीलियाँ और वो भी थोड़े से वक्त में मेरे लिए बड़ी हैरान कुन है कि गोया के एक मरहले पे कि जब डायलॉग हो रहे थे ईरान के साथ अमेरिका के और अचानक गोया के इसराइल ने हमला किया और पहले मरहले में अमेरिका इस सारे जंगी मैदान से डिस्टेंस रहा और कहा कि इस जंग से उनका कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है, इसमें वो बराह रास्त शरीक नहीं है। लेकिन फिर चौथे दिन गोया कि उन्होंने ये इंडिया दे दिया कि वो भी बराह रास्त इस जंग में शरीक होने जा रहे हैं और 8वें 10वें रोज उन्होंने इस जंग में शिरकत भी की और अब गोया कि उन्होंने उसके बाद जंगबंदी करवाई 12 रोज बाद। तो फिर कहा यह जा रहा है उनकी जानिब से कि अब दोबारा वो ईरान के साथ मुज़ाकरात करने जा रहे हैं। मैं समझता हूँ कि बड़ा अजीब ये सिलसिला है, समझ से बालातर है, क्योंकि अब तो वो कह रहे हैं कि शायद उनके साथ दोबारा डायलॉग होंगे और कोई मुआहदा भी हो जाए। साथ उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि ईरान को इस वक्त पैसों की ज़रूरत है और चीन उनसे तेल खरीदेगा। साथ में उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि जो उन्होंने ये जंग है उन्होंने बंद कराई, उन्होंने इस डील को मेक श्योर किया और ये परमानेंट होगी, काफ़ी देर के लिए होगी। तो मेरा ख्याल है तो हम प्रिडिक्ट नहीं कर सकते कि जिस वक्त भी वो कह रहे हैं शायद आने वाले दिनों में वो इस बात पे कायम रहेंगे, और जो एक हमें उम्मीद दिला रहे हैं कि मिडिल ईस्ट के अंदर एक देर पा अमन होने जा रहा है, वो हो भी पाएगा कि नहीं हो पाएगा, क्योंकि जो पिछले हफ्तों के कंडक्ट है उनके, वो तो ये बता रहे हैं कि वो अपनी पॉलिसीज के अंदर, अपनी स्टेटमेंट्स के अंदर, अपने डिसीजन के अंदर 180 का शिफ्ट ले रहे हैं। कभी वो गुफ्तगू मुज़ाकरात के साथ खड़े होते हैं, तो कभी वो जंग शुरू कर देते हैं,
कभी वो मुज़ाकरात की राह पर चलते हैं और कभी जंग का इंडिया देते हैं और जंग का हिस्सा भी बन जाते हैं। इफ्तिखार चराई साहब हमारे साथ मौजूद थे, बहुत शुक्रिया आपका। इसके साथ ही खबरों से फिल वक्त इतना ही। किसी भी खबर की तफसील के लिए विजिट कीजिए हमारी वेबसाइट .news.tv और .news TV मोबाइल ऐप। देखते रहिए .news।
ऐलान में जो करती हूँ, जो वादा करती हूँ उसको।
कंट्रोल सिस्टम नस्ब और तमाम सनदी यूनिट्स की ई मैपिंग। पंजाब में 100